What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. 2020 is here. It is January 1st. And FTIO, we just want to come in with a bang. So we got our news story for y'all. This is the Eric Z. Anderson story, or letter, should I say. G31197 is his CDC number. He is writing out of California. I think at the time when he wrote this letter, he was in Folsom State Prison, and he has since moved. But if anybody is interested in supporting Mr. Anderson, you can definitely look him up on California's inmate locator and put his information. Or, of course, you can reach out to me, and I can connect you all. All right, so let's jump right in, and I'm going to start reading the letter. I do want to say before I start reading the letter that Eric is a life without possibility of parole inmate. And for anyone who has any knowledge on the life without possibility of parole sentence, I just feel like his letter did so much justice explaining the outlook of how this sentence works and how it feels to be served from a person who is serving a life without sentence. He did such a good job expressing that. And yeah, I guess I'll let you guys be the judge of that. The letter starts off by stating, first and foremost, I would like to start by wholeheartedly thanking and furthermore commending Miss Portia Taylor from Prison from the Inside Out, Inc. Not solely for allowing me this platform to give my thoughts and opinions to all willing to listen, but also for her continual support and dedication to all of us enduring the unjust struggle of excessive sentencing. With that being said, my name is Eric Zachary Anderson. I am a 34-year-old LWAP inmate. When I was 19 years old, my youthful ignorance put me in a situation that led to a struggle over a gun with an innocent young man. In this struggle, the gun discharged, striking the man. In a panic, I fled, not realizing he was hit. I would later find out he was in fact struck and that he actually died. So I voluntarily turned myself in, thinking that being that it was an accident, I'd of course do time, but as long as I turned myself in and was honest, that it wouldn't be more than like maybe 5 to 10 years. However, I was very wrong. I never got to say a word because the prosecution made up her own motives of an attempted robbery and turned my case into a death penalty case under Senate Bill 1437, which is California's felony murder rule, where having intent doesn't matter. If a person dies while you try to rob them, it is a death penalty or life without possibility of parole case. Long story short, after 4 years and a hung jury at trial, the DA offered me 15 years to life for an accident. I was 19 years old, no prior violence, only one misdemeanor theft conviction. This was a complete accident, and I turned myself in. So we ended up going back to trial, and I got a life without the possibility of parole plus 25 years to life and 15 years on top of that. So you can imagine how thankful I am for the sentence reform advocates aiding our progress in advancing equal justice, social awareness, and rehabilitative sentencing. You all give us great hope. This source of hope, although equally needed for all oppressed prison class members, was greatly needed even more for life without parole inmates such as myself. It has been through supporters like you that us LWAP inmates have found a reason to live behind these walls rather than exist as a number, stagnated in time. I myself have been very fortunate in my 15 years of incarceration. I am blessed to have had an advocate by my side every day, inspiring my will to become better in faith, which is to find a way out. Whew. his sentence actually fits the statistics for the LWAP community, which is young men around the age of 19, generally not having any priors, or if they are priors, they are not anything to do with violence, um, and their lives being taken as a result. It's almost like it goes from a 0 to a 100 in a real quick one, like a real quick 100, versus there are many repeat offenders who, never make it to the life without possibility phase. My mom has always been my advocate and the reason I was able to control my LWAP sentence rather than it controlling me. Yet and still, the growing support from prison advocates and supporters further solidifies the inspiration needed and for others who had given up and given in to the corrupt oppression birthed via the new Jim Crow practices. It is solely the support from advocates and supporters that have revived their desire to live and become more than they are and better than they were. I honestly think that the big problem is that the civilians within our societies fail to realize that helpless inmates create a dangerous prison environment, which not only defeats the alleged goal of rehabilitating offenders, but greatly endangers the lives of all prison staff, be it doctors, RNs, counselors, and/or correctional officers. These are society's productive, tax-paying citizens, men and women in their communities to whom through their pursuit to punish rather than rehabilitate men and women, they inadvertently endanger their well-being. These men and women come to work every day inside these prisons to make an honest living to provide for their families. They deserve to enter a safe work environment every day, and furthermore, your support in achieving that. When men have no hope to come home, they have no inspiration for self-betterment. They fall into a mental health crisis, and we all know that there is not um, great, mental health resources in prison for them to be treated when they fall into these crises. They're generally just gonna like shove some medicine in their face and become a product of their living conditions and overall surroundings. Gangs become their replacement for family that they will never see again. Knives become their new guns, and everybody becomes a potential victim. Some may say, well, that's what prisoner staff signed up for, and as far as the inmates, that's exactly why we'll keep them locked up forever. This is where the true threat comes into play. So, okay, for sake of argument, prison employees did know what they were signing up for, and they did know the risk. It's sad when, it'll take for it to become one of your friends or family members that signs up to work here, and God forbid they get assaulted or killed. Also, for the sake of argument, you all have nothing to fear from these hopeless inmates left to become more dangerous than they came in, because you're going to continue to vote to ensure that they never get out and thus will never be able to harm your family or friends. However, there are currently tens of thousands of men who are being released back into your community, who will be your neighbor. The man at the stoplight next to you, the man at the grocery store. These are the same men that, because of California's sentencing schemes and the desires from voters to punish instead of rehabilitate, that have lived in the cell next door to a hopeless lifer for years and worked in the prison laundry with 10 other knife-carrying hopeless lifers with nothing to lose. So he had no choice. He is not a lifer. He is getting out, but instead of being able to use his prison time to prepare to reintegrate back into society as a productive citizen, good neighbor, and law-abiding asset to our community, he was focused on survival and ensuring his safety. So he had to carry knives, join a gang, and protect himself from those hopeless inmates that were a potential threat to his mere ability to parole from prison alive. That's sad. I don't know if y'all are receiving that the way it should be received, but what he is saying is that the 90+% of people that go into prison cannot focus on bettering themselves and or rehabilitating themselves because they have to focus on surviving in prison because of the hopelessness that has been established in the California prison system. In here, focusing on self-preservation, security, and safety is a full-time job. So not only do most men returning home do so without having any new beneficial attributes to contribute to our community, they do so having become out of necessity more of a threat and overall more dangerous than they were before they came in. This is the part most fail to realize when they're supporting the dragonous, overly expressive, and heartless sentences that it directly impacts your own safety. They create life-threatening and poisonous conditions to be endured by every single person walking onto any prison grounds or similar facility to which 90% of said individuals be employees and or determinate sentenced individuals return from to society on a daily basis, all the while directly affecting the mass public in one way or another due to the poisonous attributes bred within the prison complex. The long practice of California's desire to punish men and women via excessive sentencing has only created a higher recidivism rate, check, unsafe communities, check, and wasted tax dollars. Fractured family networks, check, and most importantly, a true despair to the victims and their loved ones. That was all facts. The potential value within the human beings left captive in these concrete tombs is honestly priceless. These are men and women who possess the true powers and overall ability to make our community safer. It is us who personally know the emotions, desires, and overall reasonings to which drives one to make the very choices made that adversely affects our communities and endangers public safety. It is us who possess the wisdom and mindset learned from making these very decisions that can utilize said experience and not merely through simple rhetoric, but rather proof of in of, sorry, but rather proof of endowment to help curb the continual criminality of at-risk youth and offenders as a whole, bestowing upon them a sense of foresight to their awaiting repercussions for continuing and parallel conduct to that in which our testament as lifers have been built upon. Is not the politician, nor the law enforcement, is not the teachers, nor the parents, or other family members that's criminal mindset find any level of relatability with. It's us, the tattooed convicts, the men and women who get it, who lived it, and who know the struggles it is that thinks of relatability of properly utilized, if properly utilized, that will transform the direction of the criminal conduct in our decision making within potential offenders throughout our communities in California. That's only one of the numerous, better yet, countless potentials that ex-offenders within the prison class have to offer. Yet and still, although we as prisoners hold an abundant amount of potential, the mass amount of potential will remain dormant and useless if not fueled to flourish. The only way we can do this is to restore hope as an equal opportunity for a better future, the equality for all to prove rehabilitation, and potentially earn the privilege to reintegrate back into society as a productive citizen. When California finally finds the courage to erase all traces of hopelessness and replace it with hopefulness, only then will there be true and honest rehabilitative opportunities, producing true and honest rehabilitated men and women, aiding the betterment and overall advancement of our communities. Help us gain the opportunity to prove that the help we have to offer is worthy of helping you. Vote this year to end the felony murder rule, extend youth offender parole hearings for LWOPers, and any and all other sentencing reform bills. At the end of the day, no man nor woman will be released unless they have wholeheartedly and sincerely been rehabilitated in the eyes of the parole board, which is not an easy task. No lifer will be paroled unless they go above and beyond to earn it. If one does not meet the suitability criteria for parole, that means he or she has not had any write-ups for at least 5 years and graduated either college or job training certifications, and for sure got a diploma or GED, completed multiple in-depth self-help courses such as AA, victim awareness, anger management, and has taken full responsibility for his or her committing their said offense and expressed anatomic sympathy for his or her actions and said impact on all involved. These are just some of the mandatory requirements in an extensive list. Even the above list of accomplishments sometimes fail to obtain a parole date for a lifer. So knowing that a life sentence means just that, life, dying in prison. If you are not 100% automatically rehabilitated, what purpose, in the light of positive aspects, can we expect a life without the possibility of parole sentence to serve? Having life with the opportunity to go to board inspires a person to want to change and lowers violence and criminal activity in prisons. By having a potential opportunity for parole to lose hanging over one's head, all the while, if the board feels that an inmate fits the criteria of a person deserving an LWOP sentence, then they will always retain the right to deny that person parole. So in other words, I just want to make sure that's understood clearly. What Eric is saying is that having life with the possibility of parole, so 15 years to life, 25 years to life, 7 years to life, what it does is it creates hope. The person knows that every time they go up for parole board, they have a chance to go home, meaning every year that they get denied, they're like, okay, I can do something better. What is next that I can do to show these people that I am changing, that I am evolving, so I have an opportunity to one day go home, even if that's after 50 years. And even if it doesn't happen, because the parole board always will have the right to deny them. But with a person that is serving a life without possibility of sentence, they have nothing to drive them forward, to push them to say that there's a chance. There is building a hopelessness in the prison community, which in turn is endangering people that are coming home tomorrow. Your possible son, your possible daughter that can make one mistake outside on the streets and end up in prison themselves. Look into the felony murder rule, guys, if you haven't. There's been actually a lot of amazing changes with the felony murder rule. Joanne Scheer, who the creator of the new reform bills for the felony murder rule, has been working her butt off to bring some change, but it has not affected the life without possibility community. And so, if you're not aware of it, just look into it and, see what you learn. So, Eric continues to say that there is no difference between an LWOP sentence and the parole board's ability to always deny one's parole opportunities as a regular lifer. The only difference is there are no positive attributes in attributes an inmate gains via an LWOP sentence, as with a regular lifer who finds motivation to do good and stay out of trouble and authentically rehabilitate himself in hopes to earn a date. The LWOP inmate is completely 100% opposite. He's told that he will die in prison. And yes, this comes from prison staff. I've heard it from many different institutions that the actual staff will tell them, like, you have nothing to hope for. Like, why are you even doing that? You're going to die here anyway. What's the point of you signing up for that class? You're just going to die here. So, and never have an opportunity to prove to anyone that he is or can become more than the person they were at the time that they committed the crime. He has nothing to live for or lose. The LWOP sentence is dangerous and serves absolutely no rehabilitative purpose. I will give you an example. Most would agree that Charles Manson fit the criteria for life without the possibility of parole, right? However, he was a regular lifer. He got to go before the parole board every 5 years, but I assure you, the parole board did not view him as a lifer. They viewed him as a person serving a life without the possibility of parole. So thus, every time he had the opportunity to go before them, they denied him. And he eventually died in prison, right? Now here I am under a sentence enhancement, the felony murder rule. I am never, ever going to be allowed to go before the parole board to prove that I am not the same 19-year-old kid who turned himself in voluntarily for accidentally shooting a man while engaged in a struggle over a gun. Now a 34-year-old law school graduate, two-time humanitarian award-winning recipient, approximately 100 self-help course certificates, which you all can see on Instagram at Eric_Z_Anderson. This will also be placed at the last slide of the video. If I would have taken the 15 to life deal offered, I'd probably be home right now. However, I guess the stupidity and ignorance I displayed one day out of my life as a 19-year-old idiotic youth makes me more of a threat to society than Charles Manson was. That's deep. Either that or we have a broken system and sentencing scheme that only we out here as a community can fix. With that being said, I humbly ask that all men and women eligible to vote please take action this November and help bring, this was written last year, you guys. Please help bring a much needed change to California's sentencing scheme. Allow your vote to be heard and take pride in helping to abolish the oppressive new Jim Crow ideology, associated policies, laws, and sentencing schemes. Help adopt the much needed solutions available that will create safer prison environments for incarcerated men, women, and civilians alike, and restore hope to thousands and thousands of men and women who for decades upon decades have been isolated into the dark existence of death by incarceration, aka the other death penalty, better known as life without the possibility of parole. Your voice matters, so please spread the word. Rally supporters and vote with them for meaningful change this year. I thank all like-minded supporters, advocates from the bottom of my heart. Take care, God bless, and remember, the power remains with the people. Use it in the direction of peace, equality, and justice for all.